In this video, you will learn to compute hypothesis tests and confidence intervals for the difference between two proportions using StatCrunch. The dataset I will be using is called Top U.S. Problems. This dataset comes from a Gallup survey taken in July and August of 2014, which asked 945 Republicans and 854 Democrats to name the biggest problem for the United States. The party column contains the respondent's party affiliation, either Republican or Democrat. The response column contains the top problem identified by the respondent. Only the top 4 responses are tabulated here: immigration, dysfunctional government, economy, and unemployment. The remaining responses are listed as other. For this video, the statistical question I'm going to test is there a significant difference between the proportion of Republicans and the proportion of Democrats that identify immigration as the top problem? To conduct the appropriate hypothesis test, under the Stat menu, I'm going to choose Proportion Stats, To Sample with Data. For both Sample 1 and Sample 2, the values that I'm interested in are in the response column. The success input is used to define the outcome of interest. In this case, set the value to immigration for both Sample 1 and Sample 2. So I need to type in the word immigration. Note, StatCrunch is case sensitive, so make sure it appears the exact same way as it does in the data table. However, for Sample 1, I want to limit the responses to Republican. So in the where box, I'm going to type party equals Republican. For Sample 2, I want to limit responses to Democrat. So in the where box, I'm going to type party equals Democrat. I'm writing party equals because that is the name of the data in the column in the data table. Under Perform, Hypothesis Test is chosen by default, and I'm going to leave the null value at 0 to directly compare the two proportions. The alternative hypothesis can be changed to greater than or less than, but for this scenario, I'm going to leave it at not equal to, since the goal is to detect any type of difference. I'll click Compute. The hypothesis test output includes the difference of the observed sample proportion of immigration responses between Republicans and Democrats, the test statistic, and the p-value. In addition to a hypothesis test, StatCrunch can also create a confidence interval for the difference between the two proportions. To do this, under Options, choose Edit. This takes us back to the original window where we set up our test. In this window, StatCrunch has other options for the user to choose. Under Perform, this time I'll choose a confidence interval. By default, StatCrunch has a value of 0.95 for level, which will produce a 95% confidence interval. For this example, I will enter 0.99, which will produce a 99% confidence interval. I'll click Compute. The results show a 99% confidence interval for the difference between the two population proportions, with L limit representing the lower limit and U limit representing the upper limit of this confidence interval.